Patacara continued. So she set off, broken-hearted for her parents, carrying the newborn baby, and with her 1-year-old, all three of them crying and sobbing, muddy, soaked, and desperate. She was enormously stressed and shocked and grieved and didn't know what to do about her husband being dead back there. And these two were hard to carry, a new baby and a 1-year-old. And because it had rained incessantly the whole night, the river Achiravati was in full flood, so it was not possible for her to cross with both sons, not both at once. The flooding was all over the local countryside, deep, and like houses had been flooded. People were desperately trying to get to safety, and this wasn't easy for anyone. Other mothers in different areas, families, and all of them were trying to survive this massive flooding. And rain in places was still continuing heavily. The flooding was rising with the rivers coming down. Further down the valley, great torrents were happening. And that floods hadn't been seen like this for a long time. Great damage was happening as it also started to speed up further down the valley towards Sarwati. So people were struggling to get on, and efforts were being mobilized to help people who couldn't cope. And everyone was struggling to get on with life. You know, even down in the city, they were leaving the elder boy on this side of the river. She crossed the stream with her day-old son and left him on the other bank. So she put the newborn down and then went back for the other son. She then came back for the elder boy, although he's not much elder. So she exposed the other one, in a way, to danger, as we shall see. While the baby was just laying there, sleeping, napping, just on its own, and she was wading back, stumbling through the rocks and up to her waist in the water. While she was still in the middle of the water, a large hawk, hovered over the newborn baby, thinking that it was a piece of meat or a baby goat or a lamb. So it came swooping around. She couldn't believe her eyes, and she was shouted and shouted to get it away while she was still in the river, middle of the river. So she shouted and shouted. Still the hawk came in and then hovered, and it's definitely looked like with its talons opened. It's got huge, large claws for gripping as well. So its massive wingspan started to come in, just like this real footage of an eagle or a hawk attacking a family in a park. Whoa, so it really happens. Those talons can clutch and snatch, and they can pick up and carry heavy weights across big, big distances. So the hawk was off with the infant. She was going out of her mind. No. She said she shouted to frighten away the bird, but it was all in vain. The hawk dived to grab, and the child was carried away by the hawk, just like the one we've seen there. Patacara was stunned and frozen. She couldn't believe there she was stumbling in the fast-flowing, powerful river, unable to do anything. It was such a big distance away. So it's really seen all around the world. It really happens where babies are carried away and then dropped from great heights or just simply carried. Far, far away, she was out of her mind with grief. She would do anything. Nothing was there anymore, just the blanket that it had been on. Even though she got over there, nothing she could do, and that she blamed herself that she couldn't save it. Meanwhile, the elder boy heard his mother shouting, saw her waving her arms as she was in the middle of the stream, and thought she was calling out to him to come to her as she was waving her arms around. So he entered the stream to go to his mother, and tragically, slipping, gasping and struggling, was carried away by the strong river's current. It was rushing on like that, very, very powerful waters that are rolling on, and he's only a little kid, so the waters were soon overcoming him. And he was getting carried and swept and pulled, and the rip currents were dragging him under the water. Nothing he could do, no ability to swim, or so he was gasping and guggling and then getting dragged under, and then before long he was gone, swept away under the powerful water currents. Patacara was numb. She was in shock. She'd lost her 2 sons as well as her husband. This was couldn't be coped with. Her mind was starting to, I blame myself for everything. The first effect. Sobbing through the mud and the rain, saying to herself over and again that her husband, her 1-year-old, her newborn baby had all died on account of her. So she wept and lamented loudly. A son is carried away by a hawk. Another son is carried away by the river. My husband is dead. But worse was to come. Down the river she saw a man from Sarawati, and she tearfully asked after her parents. That powerful river had done much. There had been many tragedies with the rain and flooding. Many walls and buildings had collapsed, and down in the settlements they were coping with a major disaster. Many, many lives had lost. And when he heard where the area that she lived in, and they lived close to the riverbank, where its soft soil underneath the buildings, he knew, and he recognized the name. When she said what's happened to the people in that area of Sarawati, the man replied that due to a violent storm in Sarawati the previous night, the house of her parents had fallen down, and that both her parents were killed, together with her 3 brothers, and all had died and had been cremated on one funeral pyre. The entire house had crashed down, killing everyone. Nothing could be done. The rushing waters had ripped away everything. They were all killed in the collapsing rubble. It was a tragedy of all dimensions. So they all had to be burned on the same path. Patacara was in shock. On hearing this tragic news, it was too much for her mind to bear. Patacara went stark mad.